And it's sort of like, if you think about it beyond the cinematic, you think about this woman Karen as sort of like being assaulted from all angles and sort of like being drawn. She says she's drawn to the violence. It's a really famous scene that a lot of people quote as she says,
I know there are women like my best friends who would have gotten out of there the minute their boyfriend gave them a gun to hide. But I didn't. I gotta admit the truth. It turned me on.
And, a lot of people agree with that when they watch it, like, and to me, like, part of me loves the beating he lays down on that guy. And that's part of like the I don't know what the problematic, I hate that word, but like watching this movie, like the violence is a draw too. And like the idea that they're like, this film is punctuated by acts of violence that get more and more sort of gruesome as the movie goes on. That's definitely its draw as well, right? Is like that.
Of course, yeah, the violence, yeah.
Yeah, but the cult part of it is really interesting to me because this could be Scientology. This is like
it could be anything, yeah.
But America produces this shit, right? Like America produces these little, I don't know. They're like almost like side capitalist hustles. You know what I mean?
Like nodes.
Right.
And I think it's also important because I think this movie is unique, particularly when compared to The Godfather or Scarface or even The Sopranos. And I think you gestured toward this at the beginning when you said it wasn't Scarface, is that it focuses on like the working class of the mafia. And I think it's also crucial because I feel like so much in our popular discourse, there's an emphasis on like the quote unquote organization of the mafia. And I think that was true. I mean, at various points in history, it's been true, but it really hit its peak from like the 30s to the 50s, the 60s. Henry actually mentioned something. He goes, it was the best fucking time. It was before Appalachia, which refers to this famous mafia meeting that was essentially, kicked down by the FBI and, all of these things. So it's also, interestingly enough, charting in a very unique way the sort of de-New Dealization, really the de-prohibition era transition of organized crime. So just for people who don't know, organized crime obviously goes back, but the sort of like strand this is a part of begins in the 1880s, 1890s, waves of immigration, and earlier, but let's say the modern one, waves of immigration starts in street gangs. People like Meyer Lansky and Bugsy Siegel are literally in gangs like the Bowery Boys. That's a little bit earlier, but they're like literally 11-year-olds shaking down peddlers. And then prohibition happens, and this leads crime to become organized. And you essentially have the creation of a bunch of conglomerates. The famous one is the one run by Meyer Lansky and Lucky Luciano, which controls a lot of casinos in Cuba, and it's related to JFK and all of these things. But essentially, Goodfellas tracks the sort of decartelization of the